Good morning. Today my research question is, should corporate hierarchical work environments evolve to accommodate the work ethic of millennials in the United States? The traditional corporate hierarchy, as defined by Jacob Morgan, an expert in the field of work environments, consists of a chain of command, where the people are treated as expendable cogs. However, the structure remains as a reliable method to maintain order and control in the work environment. The structure is known for its pyramidal shape, with rigidly structured layers of management reporting to a single person at the top, as you can see in this chart here. However, this corporate hierarchical structure has been called into question as generational differences have become more apparent. Millennials, born between 1982 and 2004, are set apart from previous generations in that their main priority is to make an impact through their work and to see a return for their efforts. Rachel Asroff, quoted in an article for the Journal of Organizational Culture, Communications, and Conflicts, states, in comparison to previous generations, millennials tend to be less focused on money-making ventures and more on making a difference in the world. This concept directly corresponds to a central theme in the stimulus materials, as shown in both Richard Nixon's Address to the Nation on Labor Day and Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. Whilst Nixon argues that no job is menial, as each job is significant, through The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus emphasizes that one must instead discover their own meaning within their fate. However, they both articulate that in order for people to achieve satisfaction through their work, they must find meaning in it. Thus, paralleling both Nixon and Camus, millennials too seek meaning in their labor. This quest for meaning is further highlighted through the millennial interest in opportunities for personal development. In 2011, a study on millennials conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, a professional servicing network, found that 65% of respondents stating that the deciding factor in accepting their job was the opportunity for personal development, as you can see in this graph here. Further, according to management professor Claudia Rollins at the California State University, Chico, millennials value educational opportunities and growth in knowledge over mobility and salary increments. This statistic is further highlighted by the study, as you can see here, only 21% of respondents stating that money was the motivating factor in accepting their current job. However, a limitation posed by the data is that there's no direct comparison available regarding millennial and previous generations' ideals in accepting their job decisions. Therefore, it is difficult to accurately quantify how much more of millennials value one thing compared to other generations. Yet, based on the studies that have been conducted, it is clear that millennial values differ from previous generations, and organizations must reconsider the existing structure to better suit the millennial workforce. The U.S. economy continues to battle the problem of an aging workforce and faces difficulty in retaining millennial workers. The number of millennials in the workforce have surpassed that of previous generations, and Richard Fry, senior researcher at the Pew Research Center, estimates that 53.5 million millennials are currently in the U.S. workforce, as you can see in this graph here. Yet, in a study conducted by Bentley University, it was found that about 2/3 of employers say that their organizations struggle to manage millennials, and a further 62% of recruiters state that retaining millennials is a challenge. This indicates an inherent flaw in the current organizational structure of the workplace, as despite the generational shift, companies are unable to keep up with the changes, indicating that change is indeed necessary. Additionally, as millennials are becoming more influential in the workplace, this generational shift also challenges the fundamentals of the employer-employee relationship, which consists of both trust and mutual reliance. However, a survey conducted by the American Psychological Association in 2014 found that 25% of Americans do not trust their employers. In yet another comparative study conducted by PwC in 2008, it was found that 75% of millennial survey respondents indicated that they expected to have between 2 to 5 employers. However, when the same exact survey was conducted in 2011, the number sank down to 54%, with a quarter of respondents expecting to have 6 or more employers throughout their careers. Therefore, it is imperative for business structures to evolve to accommodate the values of millennials, as without change and without trust, companies face the constant threat of losing their millennial employees. A proposed solution to better accommodate both millennials and previous generations is the structure of a flatter organization. Flatter organizational structures, which boast simplified layers within the organization, allows for open lines of communication and collaboration, which, according to Jacob Morgan, appeals to the millennial desire for more autonomy, transparency, trust, and creativity, and flexibility. Serving as a medium between completely flat or completely hierarchical organizational structures, flatter organizations still contain elements of hierarchies. However, the simplified layers have proven to have a positive impact on employee productivity and job satisfaction. This is a visual representation of what a flatter organization may look like. In specific, in comparison to the corporate hierarchy, the layers are much more streamlined. However, others counter the structure of a flatter organization, stating that organizations and people need hierarchies, as according to Bob Sutton, a professor of management and engineering at Stanford University, when problems arise with little or no consensus, studies have shown that flattened organizational structures lead members to be less committed to their groups and less productive, causing their corporations to suffer. However, while Sutton does hold some merit in stating that companies do need a degree of hierarchy, he fails to acknowledge the fact that real-world examples have demonstrated the ability to thrive with a flatter organization. Take, for example, W.L. Gore and Associates, a multinational manufacturing company that has adopted their own version of a flatter organizational structure, the lattice work. The company structure consists of merely 3 levels: a CEO, some functional heads, and everyone else in self-managing teams, which allows for a higher degree of autonomy. The CEO, Terry Kelly, states that the freer structure allows for employees to feel personal ownership for the overall success of the organization and empowers individuals to serve much better than any single dominant leader or bureaucratic structure. Additionally, the flatter structure has proven to be a success, as according to Daniel Roberts, a reporter for Fortune magazine, W.L. Gore has earned a spot on Fortune's 100 Best Companies to Work For list every year since 1988. And being worth $3.1 billion, appears at number 712 on the Fortune 1000. Hence, it is in corporations' best interest to evolve to accommodate the millennial work ethic, as flatter organizational structures do not only boost employee job satisfaction and appeals to the millennial values, but also increases company productivity and revenue. In summary, as millennials now account for the majority of the workforce, whilst previous generations begin to retire, and because of the differing needs and values of millennials, it is incumbent that companies will adopt flatter organizational structures, as successful case studies such as W.L. Gore have shown that traditional hierarchies are no longer practical. Thank you.
In your research project, can you describe for us some of your biggest challenges in terms of finding information or conducting the research?
So initially, I actually had a slightly different question where I was more focused on only the work ethic and not so much the actual structure of the organization. So when I was trying to do some research, it was really difficult because I initially defined it as a traditional organization, and that came up with nothing. So I had to, in the end, I had to alter my question to focus on the hierarchy. So that eventually helped with the research, and I got more specific results.
Okay. And in doing this research, since I don't think you guys are millennials, you're whatever the next one is, you're centennials.
Actually, I think we are millennials.
Are you a millennial?
Yeah.
How has this impacted your thinking about the workplace?
So previous to this project, I think that I kind of had the idea that millennials were kind of looked down upon because of their values. However, with more research, I found that actually their values make a lot of sense because they do want to contribute to a bigger impact. And I think a lot of people kind of underestimate that and are quick to make stereotypes. So through this research, I definitely think it changed my mindset because now I understand that of course, they're going to have different values, and it's a matter of the organizations that have to kind of accommodate those values because moving forward, millennials are the future.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Thank you.